If you build it, if you build it, they will not come. Think about it. If you build it, they will not come unless you follow up. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a quick little drive. What should we call this type of session? Drive, travel, and train. I like that one, the travel train. Welcome. Woo. Welcome. Welcome. So, I wanted to talk about building this list because I'll use an analogy. We'll reference it similar to a farm, an orchard. A farmer becomes a farmer or grows into a farm, inherits a farm, or they move to the country and build a farm. And they have a perimeter, a fence line, a geographical domain based on what their expectation is of what they're going to do with the land. The land is fertile. They've got the seeds, they've got the soil, they've got the sun, and they've got the water, right? All of the elements are there, but he's got to do the work. So I liken the real estate business and how I operate very similar to a farmer who works with orchards, with oranges. You cannot plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. Therefore, you cannot pick up the phone and call a lead today and expect a contract tomorrow. Now, I've been doing this since 1993. I've done it over 1,300 times myself, the listing phase, not including my buyers, just listings. And there's been an evolution that came about with regards to the speed to lead to paycheck. And we're primarily talking here about listings because I don't want to say I don't work with buyers, but I don't work with buyers. You really, really got to make me work with buyers. Primarily only when I get the buyer for my own listing, because then it's okay. But for driving, especially in this market, I was on Instagram this morning, and for me, the cringiest thing, like the thing that just gets under my skin, is when you see a sound. They do these things on Instagram and TikTok where it's a sound, and that sound gets replayed, right? So one of the sounds is clearly the scene from Buddy the Elf when he calls his dad, was it Elf, the movie Elf, when he calls his dad like a dozen times, and then the dad picks up at work and he goes, "Hey Buddy, you don't have to call me." And Buddy goes, "You're right, you can call me," right? But it's this meme, and as I searched, hey, what's up, Steven? By the way, you got my audio okay? Please give me a sound check. So anyhow, this meme has to do with the Buddy the Elf being desperate and saying, "I'll call you back in 5 minutes," right? Because he's in this Instagram, TikTok meme, this audio, they had a caption, and each one of those captions, for the 100 times you could see it, because what people do is they'll like copy that, they'll use this sound clip, and then they'll repeat it. So, thank you. So they'll grab the audio, and then they'll lip sync to it, which is, to me, it's just like the lowest form of entertainment and the lowest form of creativity. It's just stupid. And I can't think of a time or a situation where I've ever done it, right? It's just, but I watch it because I'm a masochist. It's like it's nails on a chalkboard, and you hear it once, and you're like, "Oh, do it again." And you're like, "I hate it. Do it again," right? It's like smelling farts. You're like, you don't like it, but you can't stop. Or maybe I'm just sick. But what I'm getting at, my farts, by the way, no one else's. Anyhow, when I saw this, the caption of these memes repeating this Buddy the Elf scenario where it's a desperate elf trying to get the attention and trying to get, it all said me calling the listing agent 5 minutes after I submit the offer. In other words, I was scrolling through these little 5-second Instagram clips where I must have flicked through 50 or so of agents lip syncing their desperation as a buyer's agent after writing the offer. So it's just, to me, it's just pathetic. And if you are a buyer's agent and you're in that position, I feel bad for you, because I was just a buyer's agent recently and it took me 15 offers for this client, and that really sucked. It was not fun. And if I never do it again, I'm okay. I mean, I'll work with a buyer if I only have to write 1, maybe 2 offers. 15, forget it. So I got this listing about 2 weeks ago now. Put it on the market Thursday, open house Saturday, open house Sunday, had probably 100 bodies through. Definitely, I signed in 80. So let's say 150 people. I mean, each person brings in 1 or 2 people. One brought in 10. Whew. Busy weekend, needless to say. And I just picked up a listing yesterday, and I expect to repeat this formula again and again and again. And every time I see an agent walk in and they slow down and it's slow enough, I'll ask, how many offers have you written? 10, 15, 20. And I'm just like, wow. I know that they're probably not willing to cold call. I know that if you watch my content, you might be willing to cold call, but I know that if you are one of those people willing to cold call, you also go into the office, and when you say cold call, everyone leaves the room, right? It's a broker's dream to have somebody who's willing to cold call. And believe it or not, there are brokers out there who are like, no cold calls. They're like, peace out, right? So, if you build it, they won't come. If you build it and follow up, they will come. And what am I saying? The list. Right now, I have a database of about 500 individuals. Not past clients, not sphere of influence. Primarily, I would say 470 of them are probably from cold calling or door knocking and just reaching in through the phone or reaching at the door. My nose itches. Reaching in through the phone or the door and asking one quick question with the objective of not getting an appointment, because my expectations are my reality. If you can make a cold call and get an appointment, more power to you. All right? I can't. I really haven't been able to do that since maybe 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, right around that time. The mentality, I believe the psychology of the consumer was a little bit different, and I give that mostly credit to caller ID, the iPhone, right? Caller ID in your hand, and the people who can identify the phone. So back in 1993, whatever, right? 1993, whatever. Back then, when your phone rang, you picked it up. Right around that time, you had caller ID evolving, and it was on your phone. Sometimes it was a box. For some of you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, caller ID, the phone number. It was never a name, right? That was way years into it. But even if you saw the number, you still answered it, right? You just always answered your phone. So there was a pickup rate that happened at that time where, if I made 100 outbound dials, I would speak to 70 people, 60 people. I know because I kept records. I always have. And back then, people didn't have the technology to research moving. They didn't plan on moving or selling their house until they were ready to sell their house. It wasn't like, oh, we're selling next year, call me later. It was like it was just a different thing. It was like the speed of thought to action was rather quick. So if people were thinking about selling, within a month or two, they were selling. It wasn't like they thought about it and maybe next year. It was just so basically, I would be able to pick up the phone, talk to someone, and 50% of the time, 30% of the time, I could set an appointment right there and then. And 50% of that time, I would get the listing, and the other 50%, I'd have to do 2 more stops, 1 more stop, right? Because there still always has been that know, like, and trust factor. It was never, there's always still the reluctancy for homeowners to just flip that switch. They wanted an interview, whatever. But information wasn't as easily accessible back then. Once caller ID came about, the do not call list came about. Now people look at their phone, and before you would think, who is this and what do they want? They could see the ID, you would still answer. Now they were able to see, who is this, what do you kept ringing, or you pick it up and hang it up. But now you swipe and it's gone. Or, well, the evolution of the iPhone, now you have caller ID in your hand, everything on cell phone. Long story short, when the market crashed, now you had people who were reluctant to play the real estate game at light speed. You had caller ID, which was giving people the ability to identify, and now you had Zillow, 2007, right around that time, Realtor.com, where now, before, the only way you knew what a house was worth was through a real estate agent. That was it. Or you saw a home next door sold, or a real estate agent dropped off a flyer with a couple of comps. But it was still a crapshoot whether or not that was your house, right? You didn't have the information. So what I'm getting at is the incubation period for a homeowner from the moment they think about selling to the moment they're signing a contract has gone from what I believe to be less than a year to being now 3 to 4 years, tripled. I know this because a lot of if you look at my last 20 transactions, I can tell you that the fastest from cold call to contract was maybe 5 months. That's the fastest. The longest, 4 years. The one I just listed yesterday, 3 years. The one I put in escrow 2 weeks ago, 3 years. So there's this long period of time that as I make my call and I say, are you thinking about it? I'm not going in there expecting that they're going to say yes, not have an agent, and hire me. I mean, I can do it. When you call someone, you say, okay, great. When do you plan on moving? They say 3 months. So try setting an appointment when they're thinking of moving in months. If they were thinking of selling in a week, great, I'd love to schedule an appointment. Oh no, we've already chosen an agent. See, if they're that close to selling, they've probably already chosen an agent, which doesn't mean that you can't get in the door. You gotta stop everything. Okay, great. Did you interview a few agents? Was it someone you know? You need to know ahead of time before you waste moments. And if they say that it is, someone that they never, someone from odds diminish because they have KLT, know, like, and trust. The only way you can override know, like, and trust is with value. I say that you only win or lose a listing based on love or money. But value is a combination of both love and money, which with that, it's easier to win with money than it is with love because you're not going to accelerate a relationship. But you can accelerate value and money to give people the perception that they might be making a mistake by choosing this agent. So if you do land someone says within a week, you stop everything you're doing, put together a full-blown slam package, show up at their door within an hour and say, I'm sorry to bother you, but just in case you reconsider, here's my information. And 90% chance you won't get it. But with the inventory the way that it is, I'll take my chances. You see, because I don't call so far that I'm not willing to do that. I keep my stuff local, close enough to where I will go. Some cases I might be on the outskirts of that, and it's not near enough to me. But I should. If I was hungry, I should. Every one of those, I should just drop what I'm doing. But sometimes I don't. I look at it, I'm like, wow, that's too far, man. If you build it, they won't come unless you follow up. Is build a list as fast as possible. A list with a name, an address, an email address, a phone number. Build it as fast as you can. And then with that list, start looking for a needle in a haystack. Meaning, find those individuals who might be interested in selling. And then, from there, take that pile of people who might be thinking of selling, the needle in a haystack, and now start following up with your pile of needles. I say needle in a haystack because the odds are astronomically against you in the beginning. But I know, because I put many people through my Beast Mode Lead Gen Prospecting Challenge, I know for a fact that you can get that list to 100 individuals within 90 days. Easy. I can make it so that you can get 5 people every day in that list. 5 people in your geographical interest area of homeowners who might be interested in selling, which to me, that is 100 times better than anything you'll get from Facebook or Zillow or Realtor.com all day long. Because I'm calling people who are in my area who might be interested in selling. When they reach out to you through those platforms and they come to you, they might just be curious in the value of their house. And let me remind you that Zillow has 200 million monthly active users and only, 5 million, 6 million houses sell a year, which basically means there's about 195 million people a month who have no interest in selling their house. But they're selling that lead back to you. Calling it a lead, it's not a lead. It's dog shit. How do I know? Because I have a haystack of needles, mind you. Individuals who have said maybe in HomeBot. You familiar with HomeBot, the CMA program? 300-400 people inside of that software. And Corfax, same thing. Hundreds, at least 400 people in there with the email addresses. And I have individuals in there who, I swear to you, they wake up in the morning, they shit, shower, and shave, they go check the weather, they check the latest headlines, they check the stocks, they probably check Zillow, and they check HomeBot, and then they go to work. It's almost like they check the stock market. Like for them, it's more, how much is my house worth, to make them feel better. Those are the same people, the 195 million people. That is a very big difference than me calling them and asking them one question. Do you have any interest in selling your house? It's either a yes or a no. Well, not necessarily a yes, but not a no, which means something other than no is worth following up with. Because again, a man don't walk on the lot unless he wants to buy, right? Glengarry Glen Ross. Meaning that they don't hesitate unless there's something in the... I'm not going to go into my scripts and technology and like stealth subliminal interpretation, but it absolutely works, or I wouldn't be in the business at all. I said when I left Lake Elsinore 6 years ago that if I'm still in the business 2 years from now, it's because my shit works. 6 years later, I'm all right because my shit works. Because I started all over again in a brand new town with zero leads, zero in my database, and now 100% of my business is from this new territory, and my old territory hasn't fed me in probably almost a year. It kind of sucks because I owned that town, but it had to go. I wasn't marketing and I wasn't following it. I do my past clients' sphere of influence, but they're not thinking about it enough, right? So build the list. Follow up. If you are a full-time real estate agent and you do not have a contract, you should only be doing one thing. Prospect. I don't care if it's by phone or by door, but first before prospecting is follow up. But I'm guessing if you don't have a contract, it's because you don't prospect and you're waiting for something to come. I'm talking about the lowest inventory market ever. You want to fantasize about why or why not this doesn't work, when and where it wouldn't work. I'm talking about today in this low inventory market. By the way, 28 years, almost 29 years of doing this, I really can't recall a time where I've ever said or ever heard anybody say, I have too many listings. So my inventory is always low at any point. And I've always been, one of my blessings has been that I've always felt that I start at zero. And that was in the very beginning of my podcasting era. Part of my original launch of that was called Your First, and it's still on iTunes. I just haven't put out an episode in probably 6 months, right? Maybe I'll put this up there in audio. It's called Your First Day in Real Estate for a reason, because every day you start at zero. There is no deal fairy that drops leads in your lap. It just doesn't happen. If it does happen to you, awesome. Go for it, do it, repeat it, excel at it. But if it doesn't happen for you, then you got to take action, okay? You're not going to think or watch or learn or study your way into six-pack abs unless your genetics give you six-pack abs. But then in that case, you're probably just skinny and weak, unless you're working out. This is a muscle, people. This is a farm that requires that when you purchase that plot of land, when you acquire that real estate license, you made a commitment to plant the seeds. But your seeds and your territory are as far as the eye can see. But at some point, as you're waking up every morning, starting at zero, and cultivating your land, you're going to walk past a sprout. We got plain soil, right? Going with the analogy of the orchard, the farmer with an orchard. You're going to pass by and be like, whoa, there's a sprout back there. I should probably water it. That's fertile soil. I'm going to pay attention to that one. But you never stop. You don't stop and say, I'm going to take care of that seed. You got to plant more because you're building an orchard. You're not planting one tree. This isn't your backyard. This is your business. You want to sell oranges? You got to have a couple of trees, right? This is no handouts. You got to work for it. So you plant the seeds and you wait and you keep planting the seeds and then you water and then trees die, trees grow, trees fruit. The fruit of those trees become repeat and referral business. People recognize you because of the quality of your orchard, right? That's the beginning. But it doesn't happen right away, and the incubation period is so long right now. It's hard for me to answer this question when people ask me, hey James, how many calls does it take to get a listing? Right, how many licks does it take to get the center of a Tootsie Roll, Tootsie Pop? The world may never know. My answer is, some of you know, individual results may vary. Let me wipe that. Individual results may vary. Individual effort will verify. Individual results may vary. Individual effort will verify. Because every market's different. Every person is different. Every style is going to be different. If you put me in Utah, I may or may not hit, right? I might be too dark. I might be too old. I might be too male or female. Well, I'm not female, but you know what I mean? Everything's going to be different. It's like asking how long will it take for me to lose the weight? I mean, there's a standard formula, but at the end of the day, you have to count your own calories. You have to go to the gym and you have to know how much it takes. You have to weigh in. So if I told you my answer and it didn't work, you'd give up. So I'll tell you my answer. I know by doors, and here's the problem with giving you an answer, by the way. In order for you to come to a conclusion, you have to start at zero. And if you've been in this business for 5 years, you're not at zero, right? You've had energies that exist in a territory, right? You've had names and a database, or maybe you're only selling 1 or 2 houses a year anyhow, so you might already be zero, which is fine. Predisposition for a six-pack, but now you're gonna actually prove that your strength is there in actual, muscularity, not just muscles by genetics. So you got to prove. My basis for knowing these numbers is when I came to this town, it was 40 miles away, right? 40 minutes away. When I came to this town, I knew none of these streets. I grew up, 8 miles as the crow flies there, but I knew nothing here. I had no history. Nobody knew any. Zero. It is about as zero as it gets. Brand new database, imported in Mojo. As I drove down streets, I started mapping it out in my head. Oh, that street goes there. It was nothing. Like literally parachuting into a town. But I knew that as a sales trainer and coach and as an agent, I would have to formulate this, because if you found me even 7 years ago, I'm a different man because I've taught and I've learned at the same time. So now I can formulate words that, honestly, guys and gals, there are so few individuals like myself who can walk the walk and talk the talk with a point of origin where they can say, because most of these coaches and trainers, they've been in the same territory and they can teach, but they're teaching from a place of they're teaching from a higher mountain, where I'm like, no, man, I actually climbed to the gutter and started my climb back, and let me show you how. But this is the only way I know how, and it worked for me. I didn't try anything else. I do try things, but I know that this works for me, so I stick to the basics. Prospecting. So when I got here, 3 months, it was 4 months for me to get a listing from zero. I discovered or realized that at roughly the 4,000th door, I got my first listing. So 4,000 doors, I get a listing. But then, as I'm knocking roughly 6,000 doors, somebody calls me and says, hey, James, you knocked on my door and I'm interested in selling. Then I get a listing. So is it now because remember, 4,000 and then 6,000, is it now every 3,000 or is it every 4,000? Already the results are becoming diluted because there's no more reset button. You know what I mean? The origin now, it's like when you go to a lab and you run a test, you say, okay, here's where it failed, start over, and you get pieces. So I couldn't restart the test and say, okay, now it's 3,000. But then on my 8,000th door, same thing. I knock on the door and somebody says, I'm interested, I get a listing. By the way, door knocking is much faster than cold calling. So I get that. So now is it 3 listings in 8,000 doors? Is it every 4,000 or is it every 2,000? So then over a year or so, it fluctuated. And at the end of the cycle, I have come to the conclusion that every 4,000 doors, I will get a listing. But as I'm knocking on 4,000 doors, every 100 doors that I knock on, 25 people open, and out of 25 conversations, I generate 3 bona fide leads where I get a name, a number, an email address, and I put them into a database, mind you. So now I'm 8,000 doors in, but now I've got a couple dozen leads, a couple hundred leads, right? as I'm pushing, and they come and they go, and I live. But at the end of the day, my information is diluted. My analysis is no longer valid because there's no 0 point. So what are you willing to do? I'm home now. I'm going to end this lesson. Are you willing to find out what it takes? You have to, right now, build that list. You don't have a choice. The purge is happening. Right now, we are in the middle of a purge of real estate agents. 99% of the real estate agents will be gone. Right now, what do we got? 1.2 million agents. Within 10 years, I'm going to be nice. Within 10 years, there will only be 200,000 real estate agents in existence. The MLSs will go belly up. The associations of realtors will go up. You know this is possible. Like if Bezos or Musk came to me and said, James, let's disrupt it. Money's no object. I could do it within a year. Absolutely. I just make it one platform and we'd be done. I'd buy like the top 3 websites at any cost, right? I'd buy Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. I'd buy Redfin. I'd buy Realogy. I'd just buy like the top 5 companies and push them together. And then I'd buy all the MLSs out, put them together. I'd get all the contracts, put them together, get all the attorneys, put them together. And no brainer, my friends. There is a purge going on right now between interest rates, low inventory, and technological disruption and the models of the brokerage disruption that I'm telling you, we're going to be at 1 million agents, 1.2, it's the highest ever, to be at about 200,000 agents. And you think that might be crazy, but 200,000 agents breaks down to, correct me if I'm wrong, but the math roughly breaks down to maybe 30 to 80 transactions per agent. If you don't think that the number 1 agent in your area could handle every transaction in that city, in my city, there's maybe only 60 houses a year, 1 agent could handle that. But that's not 1 agent. There's maybe 5 agents in that region. You follow what I'm saying? Imagine this. Gas stations. There's, let's say, 150,000 gas stations. Let's imagine those gas stations were real estate agents. Now imagine how many gas stations are in your town. Let's pretend those gas stations represented a real estate office. Could that office manage every sale within a 10, 15 mile radius? Yeah, easily. So if that's how many, I think there's 116. Hey Siri, how many gas stations are there in the US? 159,000 gas stations. 159,000, so I'm pretty close. So 160,000, say 200,000 agents left. Think about it. So the great purge is here. And there will be a couple mom and pop shops who pull it off, but at the end of the day, the consumer is going to go to 4 levels of agreement before they choose someone. It's going to be KLTV. Know, like, trust, value. So if they know who you are, they like you, and they trust you, now from there, the final, because everyone goes, oh, they got to know, like, and trust you. They got to know, like, and trust you. But there's one more piece to that puzzle, and that is value. That becomes the deciding factor, because if you get into the interview, it's because they know, like, and trust you. They wouldn't let you in the house. They'd be like, I know that guy. I don't like him, so I don't trust him. It's like a step. They get to know, like, you might not like them, but you could trust them. But if you don't like them, why would you trust them? But at the end of the day, when you enter into first impression with a consumer and they get to know, like, and trust you, they find value in you, that's how you win. So as I've said before, there's only 2 ways you win or lose a listing, is through love or money. Either you have a relationship, KLT, or money, meaning that you offer them a higher price on the listing or a lower commission. But does that mean value to them? No, that means more like rebate. The value is in you have no value. All you have is you're a discounted agent. But if you can get them to know, like, and trust you, and then show value in the sense that they understand there's more, similar to a car. Every car has four tires, every car has a point A to point B. But when you're at a listing appointment, you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, why do you have a Mercedes? Why don't you just drive a, a Kia? Right? No offense to my son that says Kia in the back. It's a nice one. Why don't you just drive a Kia? I mean, well, because this and that. I said, because it's a value. It'll get you to point A to point B, but you understand that there's a higher degree of value to that vehicle, although it doesn't give you any more. Well, if that was the case for a 50, 80, $100,000 car, what can you do to show them the difference between the discount fly by night nobody agent and you, the Cadillac, right? And that's where you have to, as you're building this list, provide value. They are going to get to know, like, and trust you, but the value has to happen every time so that when they know, like, and trust you, you build the value. You can't prove it. Like, if I walked up to your house holding a guitar, right? And, you know, you would look at me like, oh, you must play the guitar. Do you assume I'm good if I'm just holding the guitar? Or do I have to play it to prove to you I'm good? And I use that script to my homeowners, especially if they have a piano. I said, look, every agent could say they can play the piano, right? Just by here. They can walk next to your piano and they can say, hey, I can play this piano. Just like they have a license, they can say, I can sell your house. But if they sat down at your piano, you would know within 2 notes whether they're full of it. Problem with real estate is you don't know. The only way you can know is either by watching me play, or you do just a little bit of your own due diligence and look in the background and just form a picture of my repertoire. Until I can show you what I can do, I can only show you what I've done. And it's not just in sales, but in the quality and the value of my business model and what it is I can do for you. And if that value not only proves to you that I'm worth it, but that because I'm worth it, it will get you more money. Because if at the end of the day all they worried about is money, then you just have to show them value. And if all they're worried about is money, it's not that hard to say, here's a net sheet, here's what I get you, here's what they, and that's the easiest part about the net sheet. And you know what, at the end of the day, I'm not even talking about the list. At the end of the day, you can say, okay, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'll do the discount on the commission. But if I'm worth as much as I say I am, that means I'm going to get you more than your asking price. And if I get you more than your asking price, can I get back some of that discounted commission? That'd be all right. I've never had them say no. I've never had them say no. I just did it with the one that went into escrow 2 weeks ago, and I promise you, I don't know, at one point I'll divulge, but I did it. And they said, sure. I got them a ton of money over. And as I was presenting the offer, as they were signing, oh, by the way, remember when we talked to the listing appointment where I discounted X amount percentage? You think I can get X amount back? And they're like, well, okay. I do that half the time. I'm able to pull that off when I have to do the discount because I prove my value. Say, I'll do the discount now, but if I can prove my value, can I earn that back? Can you give me an opportunity that if I make you more, that I could get more? They never say no. You just got to be careful. I had one guy turn around and say, sure. And then I got way over. And then right when I said, okay, hey man, remember that? And he's like, oh, we'll talk about that later. I'm like, all right. And then later came, and then he's like, oh yeah, it's very expensive to move. And I was like, and I looked at his wife, and I saw his manhood shrivel up. And I looked at her, because I was looking at her, looking at him shriveling his manhood. And I was just like, and you know, my level of service went down quite a bit. But my level of service is at 110%. So I brought it down to 100. He would never notice. I just was no longer like catering to every freaking whimper and whine. I just like, peace out. I've earned it. I'm not working for more. I got your job done. Put your dick. So, my friends, with all of that wisdom and knowledge, it only comes down to one thing. If you build it, they will not come unless you follow up. If you want to remain in this business for another year, the purge is happening. If you want to remain in this business, in this low inventory market, there's only one thing you should be doing right now: prospecting. You should be finding 3 names a day, 3 addresses a day of people who you know are thinking of selling. Add 3. I can add 5 a day. Easily 5 a day. I can add 5 people who might be. Get it to 100, and I know for sure 10 of those will. And though I have 10 of those who do sell, that doesn't mean you get it. So that's what you don't get. Just because I create a database of individuals who might be interested in selling doesn't mean I get the listing. So now I have to think about how many am I going to lose to get one of them. How do I build that value in a market and economy and mentality of a consumer who doesn't make the decision on who they choose at the same time they make the decision to move? And so if they make the decision to sell before they make the decision on who they choose, it is my job to make sure that I provide enough value until that moment when they make a decision. And I'm telling you, my friends, I have a database right now of just under 500 people, which I'm going to go in the office. If you want to join me live on YouTube, I'll be in there about an hour, and you'll see me call, and I'll share with you all this stuff. Like, share, subscribe, all that. You will see me live streaming, picture in picture, all that rad stuff. You come back here, set your alarm, set your notification bell, 1 hour or so. If what happens continues to happen, and if the market shifts, I've got so many names and numbers of individuals, and you will hear me have these conversations as I'm calling live, where I am talking to people who are saying, yes, James Festini, I appreciate all of your follow-up. You will be my agent when you sell, and we are looking at probably summer. We are looking at probably 3 weeks. My inventory is about to go through the roof, assuming the inventory goes through the roof, of course. That's the only factor that I'm not happy with. I'm used to carrying 10 listings at a time, 10 contracts. And right now I'm like 1 or 2. They sell 1 or 2, because everything I list sells within, like, I'm selling everything within 3 days. So it's almost like I get a listing, I get paid 20 days later. I get a listing, I pay 30 days. I haven't had a listing that I haven't gotten paid within 30 days. And so it's almost like the gods of real estate are teasing me, because they're like, oh, you want inventory or you want to get paid? Well, I don't know, man. I kind of like that. So I'm cool with that. But I'm building that list. I have not stopped looking at, but I also have to follow up. And when you have pickup rates and drop-offs and ghosting happen, when you build that list, doesn't mean they're going to come. You got to build that list and follow the Festini 5. Mail, email, text, phone, door. Mail, email, text, phone, door. Provide value through these 5 avenues of follow-up and communication. And each one of those on their own may or may not be value, but you do it the Festini way. Mail a letter, professional letter, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with a stamp and an envelope, but it's nice professional quality. It's not wordy. It looks like an Instagram post. It's good stuff, man. My letters are sure. Mail. Email. Not just email, but we're talking about value updates on the market, like Zillow on steroids, because everybody likes their little market analysis. But when I put my face and it's a video email, it's a talking postcard. It's a, hey, did you see what the neighbors did? Here's a few. I'm like, you have no idea what I'm talking about here, and if you do, you know what I'm talking about. It is not it ain't your grandpappy's email, that's for damn sure. Email made better, video email with tracking. Text, same thing as my video email. I don't do mass text. I think that's not good. I'm talking about direct texting individuals who might be interested, the people who you are talking to are maybe not able to get a hold of, but you are providing that value. The video email, where I do it through Dub, forget BombBomb, it's a piece of crap. Dub, I do the video email, and it's got tracking, analytics, artificial intelligence to let me know pace, rhythm, cadence, slang, empathy. I mean, yeah, you don't know. And it's text, right? Text. Phone, door. Phone, hey, did you hear about the neighbor? Hey, I'm not, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Nothing. Piss off. Hey, guess what? This is, everybody loves the gossip. Did you see what your neighbor sold for? Hey, I was just wondering if you're still thinking about selling. No. Did you see that one down the street? No. What is it? Oh, man. Often I've been finding people who turn around and say, hey, James, by the way, there was this house 2 blocks down and it da-da-da. Oh, yeah. Thank goodness for that button that clicks on Zillow it clicks from Zillow, from Mojo, where I'm like, yeah, oh, the one on Apricot Street? No, Mango Street. Oh, yeah, 1.2 million. Oh, yeah. Like on the fly, I have that information. And I'm like, but you know what? This one just listed at 1.1. Oh, man, I said, what do you think it's going to sell for? He goes, well, I don't know. So, hey, let's place a little, let's play a little game. I think it's going to sell for 1.3. And they say, oh, that's crazy. I said, well, what do you think? Come on, man, just throw a number out. 1.1. Okay, you know what? I'm going to call it. Can I give you a call when it sells? Yeah. Okay, cool. Closes escrow. Hey, I know we just talked like a week ago. It just closed escrow. 1.4. Holy crap. Does that make you a seller? No, it doesn't make me a seller. All right. You think it's still maybe 6 months from now? No, I don't know. Can I give you a call in a month from now? It seems like you're on the fence here, but I don't want to rush into it any more than you do because I don't need you to cancel on me, but we should talk. Like if it's something there, let's shake that out. Let's suss that out. See if it's possible. And like, okay, sure. I've got scripts that are constantly evolving, and one of the scripts that I'm working on right now is absolutely gorgeous. You're gonna have to stick around and watch my live stream and ask me about the latest script. It involves letting them know I'm not coming to list it right now. I'll be back another time. We need to talk before then, and I need to see the house before then. The HGTV script. Gotta see it. Anyhow, I will make sure that this video gets properly posted. Hopefully the audio is good enough. I drop so much major bombs on you guys. Build the list and follow up. If you don't have a list, go build it. If you have a list, follow up. If you've exhausted that list through the Festini 5 and you can't get a hold of them, go back and build a list. But follow-up will always do it. My listings are coming from follow-ups. The fortune is in the follow-up. Your next deal is in the follow-up. It is not in the cold. I'm telling you because I do 100 contacts a day minimum, and I don't get listings from there. Why would you? And if you do, why aren't you making 200 calls a day and getting 2 listings? Huh? I hear people, oh man, I get listings all the time from a cold call. Really? How many contacts? Oh, about 100. If you live in an area where you get a listing for every 100 contacts, I'm not kidding. I will stop right now, book a plane ticket to wherever you are, go get my real estate license, and within 6 months, I will become the #1 agent, because I have no doubt about it. If you're making appointments for a listing and getting a listing in 100 contacts, I go out there and do 300 contacts a day using call tools and triple line dial with 30 lines on each head, and I will obsess, and I will get 30, 40, 50 listings a month. No problem. And I'll send for my wife and my kids to come after me later, or they'll have to come visit me because I'll be plugged into a headset. Because you getting a listing for every 100 contacts, kiss my butt. You ain't doing that unless they're like $50,000 listings. Then I think I'll stay here with my $1 million average. I'm good with that. So my friends, thank you very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, get back to work. That's my closing. See you in a bit. Hey, make sure that you get to the yeah, please post this podcast. I miss listening on the go. All right, yeah, I'll post this. Hi, when you cold call in the evening, cold call and leaves you. I cold call and door knock all day long. Hate buying clients. His audio is good. All right, see you in a bit.